Hey everyone, happy Friday. Today is the last day of this week focused on landscape paintings up here in Northwest Michigan. All right, let's get to it. Let's paint. All right, so it is the last day of the week up here at Sleeping Bear Dunes in Northwest Michigan, and I'm ending the week out with another really early morning painting. Today, again, I'm out there 6:30 in the morning or so. But this morning is so much more calm than yesterday morning. Yesterday's video, the wind was blowing me over like crazy. The whole time I'm just fighting and struggling to just keep my footing and to feel sort of relaxed while I'm painting and to be able to maintain that mental headspace of focus and attention for painting and looking and being really observant. And when you are fighting things like wind or rain or really intense weather, it's actually really difficult to maintain that level of focus. It's got to be some sort of form of like mindfulness, or it reminds me of like different forms of meditation or things even like yoga, where you feel your body hurting a little bit or really struggling to do something, but you push through, not in an unhealthy way, but you maintain that level of focus and you push through and you're able to do it. So yesterday was a lot of that. Today, I would say honestly, it was just so much more calm, and the painting process was a lot more fluid. It felt a lot more natural, and I felt a lot more comfortable while making this painting. And so for this last painting of the week up here at Sleeping Bear Dunes, I decided I was going to do something really different than I had done in the previous paintings. And what I wanted to switch up was that I wanted to really hold on to the quality of light at the beginning of the painting session. So I'm out there, it's still really early, it's before 7 a.m. And once I get the drawing laid in on this painting, as you kind of see, I get the drawing laid in. Once the drawing is laid in and I start laying the colors down, what I'm going to do is a thing called painting out of the effect. So I'm mixing up all the colors as they are at the beginning of the painting session. The color of the sky, the color of the foreground and background. And I'm going to hold on to all those color mixtures through the entire painting process. So even if the light changes, which obviously it will because we're outside in the landscape and it's early morning. So yes, the light is going to change and it's going to keep changing the entire time I'm making this painting. But even though the light changes, I'm going to hold on to those original mixtures and I'm not going to deviate from them. Even if the light changes like crazy, I'm going to hold on to those mixtures all the way through. And this is something that a lot of people just refer to as painting out of the effect. Especially a lot of landscape painters. They will say you're painting out of the effect. And you can do the reverse again. If you remember some of the previous videos, we talked about this. Painting into the effect, what you do is you sort of hold off on the colors until the end of the painting. So the first half or first, 3/5 even of the painting, you really invest in the drawing of the painting, working out the drawing, working out the perspective, all of the shapes, the placement, composition, and you spend a lot of time on that element of the painting on the front end of the painting. And then at the end of the painting, when the effect that you want is starting to set in, say like a sunset, as the sun is going down, then you start holding on to those colors that you're seeing, and you start grabbing onto the effect of light. And then you mix those colors quickly, then you superimpose all those colors onto the drawing that you've already worked out in the painting. Painting out of the effect is the reverse of that. So at the beginning of the painting, you try to mix all the big shapes of color in the entire painting, and you hold on to those, and you kind of just loosely throw them down onto the painting as quickly as you can, not in a sloppy way, but in a way that's a little bit faster than you might normally do. Like say if you were painting the landscape in the afternoon or at midday, the light's not going to change so drastically unless the weather pattern changes. But if you know it's going to be a sunny day, maybe partially cloudy, nothing's going to change that drastically. So you can hold on to most of the mixtures that you start with through the entire painting. But in an early morning painting like this, that's not the case typically. And for most of the early morning paintings, I've sort of grabbed onto the mixtures around the halfway point of the painting and ran with it as more of a sort of dull early morning light, but the painting was still pretty bright. So this one, I'm going for something different. I'm really wanting to hold on to that early morning effect of light. And also, along with just the colors, holding on to the value structure is another really important thing. Like when I think of color, I typically think of 3 different elements to color. I think of the hue, or the actual nameable color, where it sits on the color wheel. So like, is it red? Is it yellow? Is it yellow-red? Is it green, blue, whatever? And then I think of saturation. So how saturated is that color? Or how neutralized or how desaturated is it? Is it getting close to like a neutral gray somewhere in the middle, but it might still have a little bit of a color cast to it? So that's the second element I think of. First element, hue. Second element, saturation. And then the third element is the value or lightness. And any of you graphic designers know this. HSL, hue, saturation, lightness, or value, or black point. You could kind of call it whatever you want. In painting, I typically use the word value more often, and that's I would say the preferred term of most painters. Most painters would say, like, what's the value of the mixture? And that refers to how dark or how light the mixture is. It doesn't refer to what color it is or how saturated it is or how colorful it is. If saturation is maybe a hard term for those of you who aren't painters, saturation refers to colorfulness. So something that's like neon pink is at like max colorfulness. It's pushed to its extreme. Or like the hat I'm wearing in this video is a really bright safety orange color. And it's pushed nearly to its maximum color potential in a material fabric. So that refers to colorfulness, but also a really desaturated color. Like you could say the sand of the beach that we can see in this video is not very saturated. It's a very neutralized color. It has a little bit of hint of the local color of the sand, which is like a very desaturated orangey brown color. You could say tan or sand color, yes. And it's picking up some of the color of the sky above it, the blue of the early morning light, and it's in shade as well. So it has this sort of bluish violet cast on top of the local color that we already know sand is, that sand color. So that's a good example of a really desaturated color. And a lot of the colors in the sky actually right now in the early morning, they're not very saturated. They are somewhere maybe like halfway saturation point. They're neutralized quite a lot. They're not like super potent colors. So that's, anyways, I'm going down a rabbit hole talking about color mixing, but it's really important when you are mixing, and especially in this context where you are painting out of the effect. It's really important that you are pretty confident at mixing colors on the fly and quickly and efficiently so that you can trust those color mixtures as you do the rest of the painting. And you almost have to take a leap of faith and know that if you mix these colors accurately in the beginning, the effect of light that you are attracted to at the beginning of the painting is going to hold true through the end of the painting. And you're going to come away with this painting that feels like the initial setup. It felt like the painting in this situation, the painting will still feel like it had that quality of light that I saw at, say, like 6:40 a.m. in the morning or something, whenever I got out there and started mixing the colors and making the painting. So I picked this scene because I saw it yesterday, actually. I'm almost in the exact same position that I was in yesterday, except now I'm facing south instead of facing north. So facing south, I'm looking at Empire Bluffs again, And I liked this little beach pergola thing, whatever you want to call it, this little, I don't know, gazebo. It was a four-sided gazebo design with a just pyramid roof line, a hip-style roof. And I liked having this little structure on the beach kind of functioned in a few ways. In one way, it gives a sort of human scale to the beach and how large the view is that I have, which I think is sometimes really useful in landscape painting because trees are sort of scalable so much that a bush, if you look at it the wrong way, you could interpret it as a tree and imagine that everything is a lot smaller than it should be, vice versa. So if you're imagining that a tree is a bush, the whole composition is going to look really wrong, or your sense of scale in the composition is going to look really wrong. So sometimes it's actually really useful to include an element like a building or some kind of structure that we already know and understand the size of it, and that helps give us a footing in terms of the scale of the composition. It helps give us a footing in terms of the scale of all the elements that are contained in the painting and in the composition. So I actually don't know if I did that a lot in the other paintings this week. I mean, I kind of did. There were some staircases. I actually painted some people in the painting, I think on Wednesday. And yesterday's painting had some elements. I think it had a staircase in it as well, going down to the beach. So I was attracted to that. And also, as I was painting this, some effects of light started to happen that I was really attracted to, that I said, you know what, this is okay, I'm going to grab onto these as I see them. And one of those effects was the kind of slits of sunlight that were just peeking through the tree line and hitting the beach. And to be honest, I didn't spend that much time on trying to super carefully place them and draw them really precisely. I just laid them in as they started to happen and about the size and scale of them. And then I said, okay, well, I'll work out the drawing a little bit later on them, but I want to put those notes of sunlight in because I'm really attracted to what they look like right now. And so I laid those in, and that was something that probably happened more around 7:40 or something. It was like an hour into the painting, but I liked how it looked and it worked with the colors that I had started with. And notice that the beach, because I mixed the sand so darkly that it has this quality of shade to it, that I had more than enough room to lay those sunbeams and those highlights that were coming through the trees and hitting the beach sand. I was able to mix those and have that really strong effect of light, where there was a strong separation of light and shadow on the sand like that. If I had instead just started grabbing colors maybe like an hour into the painting instead of holding on to the colors in the beginning of the painting session, I wouldn't have had that room in the value scale to actually make that effect of light feel natural and actually feel believable in the painting. So there are actually a lot of benefits, and that was like an instance of one of those benefits to painting out of the effect. I mean, the obvious benefit is that you can actually capture an effect that feels a little bit more fleeting or feels a little bit more ephemeral, like a sunset or a sunrise, something that is going to change really quickly on you. But if you're able to mix in the 5 big general regions of color quickly within, say, 15 minutes or so, and you're able to hold on to the logic of the value structure and the color structure of those big shapes through the painting, and then just work out all of the little elements of shape placement and drawing and perspective in the painting, you can come away with a really believable painting that has the essence of that short-lived effect of light, even though you spent a long time painting it, and most of the painting you painted outside of the context of that light. So I gotta say that painting up here on the beach and being up here in Sleeping Bear Dunes this week was fantastic. It is really such a beautiful landscape, and if you're in the Midwest, if you're say anywhere around Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Chicagoland area, if you've never made it up here, it's definitely worth the drive. I think it was like a 5-hour drive from Chicagoland area for us. And it wasn't that bad. And it's such a beautiful landscape. The drive was so worth it. And honestly, you don't really get anything like this, these huge dunes that are just massive structures that have a very unique plant life growing on them. And just the quality of the water and the beach. And it's not overcrowded like you would get at a lot of beaches. It was actually really pleasant. And we just had a fantastic stay. And we stayed at a great Airbnb. There's a lot of Airbnbs up here. The reason why I was doing this morning routine is that breakfast was served from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. So I figured, if I wake up at 6 and then go out and start painting by like 6:30, I can make a painting in like 2 hours and then pack up and be back for breakfast, and I already have a painting done. And that's just a fantastic feeling, honestly. Like you start the day out and you've already made a painting. As a painter, that's just like an amazing feeling. You feel like, well, shoot, I might as well make another painting this afternoon too. And there were a few of these days this week that I did that. Like I doubled up paintings on the day, but then I just used different paintings for different days of the week on the videos. But it's an awesome feeling. If you've never done anything like that, I really encourage you to. It's just like a really satisfying thing to do. Wake up before everyone else and get out and make a painting. And then you're coming home as people are making breakfast and having their morning coffee and you've already made a painting. I don't know what it is. It's just a really good feeling. So I encourage you to do that if you've never done it before. But those were the paintings for this week, and I had a blast. We're going to be heading back to Northwest Indiana, and we'll be back in Northwest Indiana for another couple weeks. And I'm actually really excited. Katie and I are planning to go see the El Greco exhibition that is up at the Art Institute of Chicago. And I totally thought I was going to miss this because of COVID and everything shutting down, but it's open, I think, through September 9th. So I'm just super pumped to be able to go see this exhibition. El Greco is one of my favorite painters, and it's not often that you get to see so many of his works together at one time. So I'm super pumped. Can't wait to go see that show. But anyways, I hope you all have an awesome weekend, and I will see you back on Monday, and we'll be starting a new theme. Take it easy, everyone.